As of recent, I've been going back to playing the classic Mario Kart games, and I've been having a good time. While I grew to like Super Mario Kart a bit more, and I grew to like Mario Kart 64 less, Mario Kart Double Dash was just as good as I remember, that being really good. It has to have the most consistently great selection of courses. I mean, the worst it gets is that it's just kind of boring, and maybe a bit obnoxious, and the best it gets is some of the best in the whole series. You got the massive scale and demanding turns of DK Mountain, the leisure atmosphere and novel concept of Daisy Cruiser, and you got jumping through fire hoops, and really capturing the feeling of a motocross show of Waluigi Stadium. All of these are famed for their intricate and layered course design. Yet there's also one in Double Dash that doesn't have any of these attributes. In fact, it has the most basic layout in the whole series, yet it's still just as popular, perhaps the most infamous in the franchise. And that's Baby Park. At first glance, you think this has to be a joke. It's literally a small oval, completely barren and lacking any remote obstacles. You'd think this has to be on par with like Figure 8 or Peach Circuit as one of the most nothing sandwiches in the series. So you select this course expecting a pretty uneventful race, and you cross the finish line as a changed man. Everything about Baby Park just fascinates me. It has to be some creation of God, or Satan, depending on how you look at it. I just can't get over the juxtaposition between expectations and reality. And today, not only do I want to really dissect this course and show how a literal oval is secretly genius design, but to also go over how Baby Park evolved throughout this series and how its many remakes fail to even come close to its original glory. So sit down in your potty trainers because you're gonna shit yourself. I don't know, start the video. Let's first look at Baby Park's presentation. The name pretty much describes itself. It's a theme park full of attractions to be enjoyed by the little ones, you know, like roller coasters. I do really like how the park itself looks. There's all kinds of goofy contraptions on the outside of the racetrack. This childlike and whimsical atmosphere almost puts you in a false sense of security, because like they always say, the demon of Babylon disguised himself with the coat of the righteous. I hope you like the look of all of these fun attractions, because you can't ever go on them. You're stuck inside this enclosed arena. Now, at face value, like I said, it's a small oval with two 180-degree turns. Simply do 7 laps around the track, and that's that. On paper, this sounds like the most boring racetrack imaginable, until you remember that this is Mario Kart, and specifically Double Dash. The best that I can describe Double Dash is hell but fun. Due to the large variety of special items coming from every character, it caused a lot of destruction throughout the race. You'll get pelted by chain chomps, Bowser shells, you're gonna get knocked all over the place. But damn it if I'm not having the time of my life. Since the items are so extreme, it's a lot of fun fighting for your life, and using the items yourself is just as effective. So the race feels very spontaneous, and the designers behind this game were well aware of the chaos that'll ensue, and built many tracks around that. Luigi Circuit, the starting course, has the genius design of having you go forwards and backwards on the same road, meaning that those far ahead can joust with those far behind. It sort of serves as the perfect appetizer to this game's very spicy flavor, and in a way, it's preparing you for what's to come. Now with the game's unpredictable nature in mind, imagine working with these elements in such an enclosed space. The reason why Baby Park lacks any hazards is that it doesn't need any. That's when you come in. The input of both you and the computer players is what will be actively creating the hazards. Being so compact, the giant bananas and Bowser shells are much more present and much harder to avoid. From getting hit by banana after fireball after blue shell, at that point, it's not about winning, it's about surviving. Not that you can die in Mario Kart, you know what I mean, I'm just being a little dramatic. In a way, they pretty much created a blank canvas where the characters are dynamically creating obstacles throughout the race. It's genuinely a brilliant course despite its simplicity. And so Baby Park, despite its innocent face, consists entirely of the Mario cast gutting each other's heads, to the amusement of the almighty Koopa head in the background. And the music that accompanies this stage sounds maddening, taunting you almost, and it only adds to the chaotic experience. Like, if you force me to listen to Baby Park's music for hours, I would come out as a deranged person. I might start believing in astrology. This experience is only elevated so much more in multiplayer. Now having more human control, your opponents end up being much harder to predict, and now you get to feed off the pain of another person rather than a computer player. so that's always good. I'm telling you, get 3 of your friends over, boot up Double Dash, set the items to frantic and laps to 9, and you're about to get the definitive multiplayer experience. And I can only imagine how magical land play it's like on Baby Park with up to 16 players. That is on my bucket list. I will not die happy until I host a Baby Park LAN party. It seems like I'm selling this as some all-time classic adored by all fans, and while that's mostly true, there's some who aren't on board with Baby Park. They find the aggressive randomness and entourage of items to be more frustrating than fun. And while I understand, I have to strongly disagree. I believe Baby Park to be a great demonstration of good chaos. Like sure, you're gonna get hit by your opponent's items non-stop, but you can do the same thing to them just as easily. You're actually contributing to the chaos rather than the game targeting you specifically. And even if I do end up with a bad placement, like, who cares? When it comes to this map, it's not about winning, it's about having fun while getting your teeth kicked in. Or perhaps, some people don't like this track because they got their impressions of Baby Park in later Mario Kart games that butcher its main appeal. I wonder.
Here we go!
The game that followed Double Dash was Mario Kart DS, my personal favorite in the series, but I admit its greatest weakness is its very mixed track selection, where it has about as many hydrogen bombs as it has coughing babies, and that's mostly due to the retro tracks. It was the first game to bring back courses from previous games, so I'll give it credit for that, but it's also what brings down the average quality of the track selection by a lot, because you know, the DS isn't exactly built in with G-Force, so they had to pick tracks that would be the easiest to make. And so alongside snooze fests like Waluigi Pinball or Airship Fortress, we also got certified bangers like Mario Circuit 1, and Peach Circuit, and Luigi Circuit, but it wasn't all bad because they also brought back Baby Park. But there's a bit of a problem up front because, well, this isn't Double Dash. Double item boxes and all the crazy special items are absent in DS. So already, lots of what made the original so fun is taken away here. But oh well, I'm sure it'll still have the same inherent fun factor of Mario Kart. So who is ready for a good old round on the triumphant return of Baby Park? That's it? That's Baby Park? That was just going around an oval while doing jack shit! Yeah, this kinda sucks. This sucks so bad. Like, it was already going to be not as good as the original, but this is just so sauceless. Compare the footage of me playing Double Dash's version and then DS, you'll see exactly what I mean. This is the complete opposite of Baby Park. Instead of being at the edge of my seat the whole time, I was so bored from start to finish, which thankfully isn't for all that long, because for whatever reason, they cut the lap count from 7 to 5. I'd complain about it, but then again, this boring piece of garbage would last longer. This has to be not only the worst in Mario Kart DS, but one of the worst in the series and such a disappointing existence. Honestly, I think it would have been better if they went with like Dry Desert for one of the GCN tracks, and then put Baby Park and Mario Kart Wii. That would have fit right in. But it already happened and you can just play the original version and pretend this one doesn't exist. But if you can't help but feel a little unsatisfied, don't worry because this wouldn't be the last we see from it. Because eventually Nintendo realized that, yeah, this was pretty shit, so they decided to do this fan favorite justice. Back when Mario Kart 8 was getting DLC, one of the retro tracks they brought back was Baby Park, which at the time was unprecedented because once a course got remade, that was it, they can't get another shot at being remade. But this course desperately needed a second chance, so bending the rules a bit couldn't hurt. Also, it's their franchise, they'll do whatever the fuck they want. So does Mario Kart 8's version of Baby Park live up to the legacy of the original? Almost? Don't get me wrong, it's a massive step up from DS. Obviously, the visuals are incredible. They really fill the theme park with so much life. Love all the detail of the attractions on the outside. And there's even a statue of baby pink gold Peach, which is a terrifying thought. As for the course itself, it's definitely a step in the right direction. Anti-gravity is on the whole time, meaning that bumping into other racers will give you a boost. And I think that's a good incentive to drive a little reckless. And now the music is more psychotic thanks to the fact that it gets faster and higher pitched after every lap. The items in Mario Kart 8 are a lot more chaos than the ones in DS, especially in 8 Deluxe with the 2 item slots. So now we got hectic items getting pulled twice as fast, just like in the GameCube. So why am I not entirely on board? Something about this version just wasn't hitting right for me, and I couldn't pin down what it was for the longest time. But recently I figured it out. is getting hit by stuff. So in Double Dash, when you get hit by a shell or banana, it's not all that punishing because you pick up your speed pretty quickly. Which adds to what I meant when I said hell but fun. Your misery is pretty short-lived, it can get back into the action almost immediately. But in Mario Kart 8, when you crash out, you have to slowly crawl back up to your max speed, and this can be especially painful when you get comboed. And not only that, but Mario Kart 8 in general is a much more balanced game, especially when it comes to the items, which in most cases is good, but with Baby Park, I didn't really find myself getting hit that often, and when I did, it was just a minor inconvenience. That being said, I still think it's a decent course. Even if it's not as good as the original Baby Park, this was still a good way to carry on its legacy, and it's at least better off than it was on the DS. And now a new generation of Mario Kart players can experience at least some of what made it so special. So yeah, I guess that concludes the saga of Baby Park. I really can't escape this game, can I? Look, I may have been pretty critical of this game in the past, even as far as saying that it's probably not a good game. There's still lots of stuff to like about it. One of my favorite parts being the content loop of getting new courses and characters every 2 weeks. Logging in and checking the news page to see what tour was going to be coming up was always the most exciting part of this game for me. But I remembered one tour that gave me some real mixed reactions, and that was the Cat Tour, dropping June 1st, 2022. Now there's a bit to process here. We have Cat Mario and Cat Luigi, we got some cat-themed carts, but more importantly, you can see that the background is Baby Park. So it's gonna come to Mario Kart Tour. Despite being confused why the theme is cats and not babies, I was pretty excited. But then I started to think, is this actually gonna be good, or a complete disaster? I had a feeling that it wouldn't really mesh well with Tour's mechanics. And wouldn't you know, I was right. This is bad. Like, it's really bad. This should not have ever been in Mario Kart Tour. First off, yeah, when you're working with automatic acceleration, a track that mostly consists of going straight is not fun at all. Your only input is going to be sliding your finger for the brief turns. It's cut back down to 5 laps again, but since every other track's lap count is cut in Tour, it's to be expected. And it's not that big of a deal, really. Although, since we have special items and item frenzies, there's some potential for a chaotic race. And I will admit, the variations are kind of cool, but that's something I can say for the variations of most other tracks. The problem I have with this track, and the reason why this is arguably just as bad, if not worse, than the DS version, is that what Baby Park is supposed to be fundamentally does not work with the goal of Mario Kart Tour. For those who don't know, there's a combo mechanic in Tour, where you have to do actions in succession to get the highest score possible, and getting hit means you're at high risk of losing your combo. So do you see the problem of putting a course like Baby Park in a game where the objective is to get the perfect run? The fun thing about Baby Park is trying to get first place despite getting smacked all over the place. But in Tour, now that getting first isn't enough, you have to play as well as possible. It makes getting high scores in this track a huge pain in the ass. Putting this track in a game with a skill-based scoring system is as counterintuitive as a Where's Waldo audiobook. It completely went over their heads that maybe adding the most unpredictable course in a game about optimization wasn't a good idea. I'd say the Tour version is even worse than DS, because when you finish a race in that version, it's over. But in Tour, if you're trying to aim for a high score because the track isn't ranked, you have to play it again, and again, and again, and you are going to go insane, which I guess fulfills Baby Park's goal of driving you insane, so there's that. But it comes from bad game design rather than good and intentional design. So yay, congrats Mario Kart Tour, you butchered yet another retro track. Anyways, I hope I'm not coming off as another Mario Kart Tour hater. Like I said, there's many things about this game that I like, but there's also many problems I have with it. Hey, at least I'm doing better than most Mario Kart fans who just go, oh, phone game bad. In reality, this game is pretty harmless. Well, except when they push gambling to kids as young as 4. So what we can take away from this video is that if you're gonna remake something, you really need to keep the heart of it. Know what made it so special in the first place. Because if you bring it back while misunderstanding what made it so good, the remake would have been better off not existing. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you just can't beat the classics. And this video shows that Mario Kart Double Dash, despite being over 20 years old, still gives an experience you can't get from any other Mario Kart. And nothing demonstrates this as much as the one true Baby Park. Actually, this game is garbage. Look how much longer it takes to select Wario.
Dude, this car's ass!